I'm Zach Kornfeld. I'm from the Try Guys. We've been making videos for a decade now. I'll tell you, my life is dope as hell, and I got OCD. I was going to therapy in elementary school, and really struggling with these weighty midlife crisis-y type questions in my adolescence. Semi-open drawers make me feel like I want to reach inside my body and just tear it out. I want to explode. And you could say, Zach, leave the room. No. I'm remembering that drawer. I will drive back and close that drawer. I got pretty frustrated with my psychiatrist, and I stopped taking medication for a couple years. Almost just as a f you to the world. I want to find the magic pill that makes it all go away. And it's taken me about 35 years to realize that is not how it works. I'm turning this into a therapy session. I hope you don't mind. It's very helpful for me.
We'll charge you for the podcast. It's okay.
Okay, good. I was going to say, I'm taking this as a free session. I'm using promo code ZAC100.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of the Get to Know OCD podcast. My name is Dr. Patrick McGrath, and I'm the Chief Clinical Officer for NOCD. If you're looking for help for OCD or related conditions, check us out at NOCD.com. That's NOCD.com. Today, we have Zach Kornfeld. Zach, I've been enjoying the TV shows, the cooking show, Hysterical, by the way.
Thank you. Hello.
And also some of the work that you've done really to be open with you and your whole crew about health, mental health, and everything too. So I'm excited to get into that, but wanted to give you a little moment to introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you've been doing.
Okay. Hey, well, how's it going? First of all, thank you for having me. Can I call you Doc? Can I just call you Doc this whole episode? Because that feels good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You don't get to just casually chat with docs every now and then. So I'm Zach Kornfeld. I'm from the Try Guys. We've been making videos for a decade now. So you may have seen me taking my pants off or trying some weird thing, labor pains, eating food, cooking foods. We have a slew of shows and content we make. We have an app called Second Try, secondtry.tv. So we make all sorts of stuff. I have had OCD for as long as I can remember. I was diagnosed in middle school. And I'm really excited to talk about it today because I'm a very open person. I love using my platform to tell people about the different health struggles I have, whether they are physical or mental. I also am a chronic pain sufferer. I have autoimmune disease. So I get to talk about that a lot. But frankly, I don't get to talk about OCD that much. And it's been a huge part of my life, a huge part of my journey, how I have been shaped as a person. So I'm really looking forward to dive in today.
One of the things, maybe to start off, I was listening to some of the things you have said in the past. You talked about a cold railing and a wrist touching it and contorting your body. And it was just such an interesting example of what we call symmetry-based OCD, where right side, left side. And I was wondering, can you talk about that and how you first kind of noticed these, maybe what you felt were odd or strange things going on until you had an actual name for it?
Yeah. So I had a bunch of different manifestations of my OCD, and it has changed throughout the years. It basically, anytime I would cure one, it would replace with another. Sure. It was like playing a game of whack-a-mole. But specifically in middle school, I had really bad symmetry OCD. And that would manifest both visually and physically. So visually, I remember playing The Sims, and everything is block-based. And sometimes you'd build a room and you'd be trying to put a couch in. And, it was either going to have one block to the left and two to the right, or like you couldn't get like the same amount of blocks on each side. And that would drive me nuts. I would break down walls, demolish the house, rebuild it. But specifically physically was a lot more pernicious and disruptive to my life. So you mentioned the cold railings. In my school, when you would walk down the hall, there was this little cold railing, and if your arm or your wrist especially would touch up against it, it just would, like, first of all, it's such a awful feeling, like the shocking cold bronze metal against your skin. And so I would contort my body to wherever it touched me on one side, I would make sure I was touched on the other side. And I knew in my mind, I felt, well, this is different. This is strange. And in my mind, I gave it negative judgment. I said, this is weird. And so I would also go through these great lengths to sort of hide it. And then I don't know how many of our viewers were young boys in middle school, but you get punched in the arm. You get like people, and sometimes it's mean, sometimes it's not. Boys just love punching each other. I don't know what that's about. And so if I got a punch in the shoulder, okay, well, that's a big feeling on one side. I now need to balance that out. And so I would literally, I wouldn't punch myself hard, not to the point of bruising, but if I get hit on one side, I would hit my other side. And that was that went on for years and years.
I've even heard of people who have been bumped like on the street, and they've gone and chased the person down that bumped them and bumped them on the other side because it had to be the same person even who did it.
Had to be the same person. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, almost caused a few fights.
Come back here. Yeah. Can you do me the biggest favor?
Just ram into
that could be a meet cute. That could be the beginning. You just put that in a rom-com, and all of a sudden,
there you go. It's an OCD rom-com.
Someone's got to write it.
So you got to know things. You saw a movie. It kind of helped you realize you had OCD. There was some mention of that in there.
Yeah. I meant before this to look it up. So I'm going to do it right now. The movie, I believe, was called Camp. And it's, I believe, also had Anna Kendrick in it. It was a small indie film. Yeah, it's Camp. It's not for my memory, it's not a great movie. But I saw it. So I must have been 13 when I saw this movie. And I left the movie and I was kind of real quiet for a while. Usually I was a real, get out of movie, talk as much as I can. And I turned to my mom and I go, I think I have that. And it wasn't, there was nothing in the movie where his OCD reflected my OCD. Again, I haven't seen this movie in 20 something years. But I just there was enough of a representation of OCD that I went, okay, this thing that has been going on in my head, I think I'm not alone. And so it really shows the power of representation in media. Because like you just don't know things. You can't put words to things until you see it reflected. That meant the world to me, and it allowed me, and thank God I had a really receptive mother who took it seriously and said, let's get you to a therapist. Let's try and get this diagnosed. She didn't dismiss it. And that also was really clutch. I remember being in health class, I think it was. What is that even a real subject? Health?
Yeah.
But I think we had a health class, and we did a day on OCD, and specifically it was a list of performers and or creatives, and it was like Stanley Kubrick, Steven Spielberg, Pablo Picasso. What do all these people have in common? They have OCD, or maybe it was just some mental health disorder. And seeing that was such a oh my God, it was such a affirming moment where I said, okay, my brain isn't broken. This isn't bad. I'm just different. And one, if all these people that I respected navigated this in their life, so can I. And also, maybe this is part of what makes my brain unique. Maybe this is part of, not to glorify this and say that like a mental health disorder is the key, or that struggle is key to art, right? I think there's a danger in that, but that the fact that my brain chemistry is wired different is something that if I can funnel it, I can use that as an asset. And so that seeing that all these people that I greatly respected, admired, looked up to, hoped to join, that they had this thing that I had too, it meant so much to me in that moment. And I remember that feeling of going, okay, well, if I ever have the chance to pay it forward, that's what I want to do. And which I guess is a really arrogant thing to think as a 13-year-old that someday you'll join that list of names.
That's awesome.
But so that's something I've tried to do with my OCD, but also with my ankylosing spondylitis, the history of depression I had. Like, talking about these things, I think it takes power away from them and gives power to you, but also hopefully gives power to someone else out there.
Yeah. And depression's so common to come along with OCD. You know, if depression is I've lost interest or pleasure in things I once enjoyed, and OCD attacks the things you love, you can understand why you'd be depressed, because you don't want to do the things you love, because OCD is just gnawing away at them and just leading to doubt and fear and everything like that.
Yeah, it's and I have a family history of depression, so it was something I think that we were on the lookout for. But I was depressed as an 8-year-old. I was going to therapy in elementary school, and really struggling with these weighty midlife crisis-y type questions in my adolescence in a way that is kind of shocking to people. But, I was weighing, what is the purpose of life? What's my purpose? I don't have a purpose, therefore I don't deserve to live. Like, all of these really heavy things for a kid to be thinking. And I honestly credit, I went through a lot of that really early in life. I think people are really shocked to hear that because of how joyous and bubbly and childlike I seem now, but maybe I just got my therapy out of the way.
Yeah, you're doing your reverse childhood now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because many people have the notion that OCD is just checking the locks or cleaning something or washing your hands. They have maybe some idea on the symmetry, putting things in a certain order or something, but there's things like existential OCD. So just what you were describing, even as a child, you can be wondering, am I in the matrix, or am I really here? And so it's really fascinating that you had that as a kid, because a lot of that kind of theme I usually see in people who are older, but it's not unheard of for even younger people to contemplate that on that existential crisis. And many people will feel down or depressed by that, but very often it's not diagnosed as potentially OCD. Especially
it wasn't for me either. You're the first to do it.
Yeah, especially if you're doing some kind of compulsive rumination or trying to figure it out or researching it over and over. Those can actually be compulsions for a lot of people.
Interesting. That's fascinating. I mean, a trend here is that while I did get help and I got a diagnosis, I don't think I never had the best doctor support. Throughout ever. I would go so far as to say a pretty shitty psychiatrist, and who was just trying to throw drugs at the problem. I got to a point where I would check in with him once every 6 months, and he would say, okay, we'd talk for 30 minutes, and then he would give me my high dosage, and I'd be out the door back to my life, which is not a very helpful or effective way to attack this. It also didn't work. My symptoms never went away. Not really through medicine. I started with very low dose. That went higher and higher and higher, and it felt great. I still remember the first day that I had my medication. Walking on Sunshine was playing. It was like, oh wow, this is what life can feel like. This is great. This is great. Okay, cool. This is fun. But it didn't really make the symptoms, of which we've only scratched the surface. There were a lot of them. But yeah.
Once you open up about OCD, I'm sure people come up to you and say, "Oh, I have a little of that too." And
right, sure.
There's always the pros and the cons of that, right? I mean, we're happy to give education. The moment I enter a party and people ask me what I do, and I say I help run an OCD company, that a standard. Oh, I've got a little of that, and I'm just
I'm so education OCD moments, about this.
Yeah, how do you help people truly understand what OCD is? Do you have kind of a go-to in that conversation at all?
Yeah, I try and be nice about it, but if that comes up, it sort of is just okay, do you really want to know what it is then? And then I think you use that as an opening to give people awareness. I try to not admonish people for using it lightly, and not be like, you don't actually know. You have no idea what you're talking about. In fact, if you knew what I was going through, because I don't think that's a good place to, you're trying to build a bridge here. So instead, I just use it as an opening to tell people about what it felt like and the way that, there was one specifically that helps people understand. This is not the biggest of my OCDs, but I really struggle still with semi-open drawers. I'm not a neat person. I'm a messy person. You come to my house, I got schmutz on my counters, I got clothes on the floor, but semi-open drawers make me feel like I want to reach inside my body and just tear it out. I want to explode. I physically cannot. There's fire ants crawling on my skin. Yeah. I want to vomit. Like, it is just this, I am unwell. I am deeply unwell, and I will never be well again. And you could say, Zach, leave the room. No. I'm remembering that drawer. I will drive back and close that drawer. So I actually still, to this day, it's my symptoms are mostly under control, but I just told everyone who works with me, because I'm the boss here. I'm like, I'm going to close your drawer. This is not an aggressive move. I'm not saying that you're bad and you're not in trouble, but I will walk up and I'm just going to kick it closed every time I walk by. And honestly, it's not even your responsibility to close it. That's fine, but I'm going to. And you don't need to feel bad about it. You just need to know that I'm pulling the boss card, that this is an okay behavior for me to do. But in my home ec class, when I was in school,
I was just going to bring that up. I was just going to bring up the home ec drawer because I heard you talk about it. Yeah,
we had there was this warped wood, and so there was a cabinet that could not close. Just physically, it was stuck open for the rest of time. You would have to tear the thing out, and I knew that, but it did not stop me from every single day going up and trying to shoulder while my teacher is teaching. I would try and casually I'm just getting up and stretching, or I'm going to the bathroom and just fucking get the thing closed. There are so many years of my life, especially the middle school to early high school, before I was medicated, that I just could not concentrate in class because some of these other things were occupying my brain. So I can keep talking about my symptoms, but just to wrap it back to the actual question that spurred this, that's what I tell people when they do the little, I'm OCD. It's like, no, you don't understand. This isn't just about, I like things in a certain way. We all have preferences. We all have quirks. But this is a compulsion to a point where I am no longer able to function. Yeah. I cannot do, it is overwhelming me and preventing me from being a functional member of society.
And there's, I'm so glad you said it, because there's sometimes that misinformation too, where even people will say, God, I wish I had a little OCD. I heard that during COVID, then I wouldn't get COVID. Or people who have said, I think OCD is a superpower because it just makes you do things intensely. I think the superpower is not having OCD. I think it's the tenacity one has to go against what OCD says, because it is a monster in your brain. And the superpower is knowing that you have the will to go up against it, not listen to it. And then once you have that will, realize, what else can I accomplish now in life? Because I just defeated the biggest demon in the world.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like to get the diagnosis of OCD, one of the criteria is that whatever your compulsion is overwhelms to the point that you can no longer do some other tasks in your life.
Yeah, you're looking at least an hour a day of spending time on obsessions and compulsions, or it's interfering with being able to work or go to school or be social or just even get general everyday tasks completed. Imagine a drawer at your home wouldn't close and you needed to leave the house to go to a party. You might skip that because
I would burn the kitchen down.
Yeah, exactly.
I would burn the kitchen down. We're rebuilding. We're starting new.
Yeah, sorry. I'm going to miss the wedding, hon, because the drawer won't close here. And right.
Yeah, and it for me, a lot of this was in school, and so I've found better ways to channel it in my work life now. It's funny, I just did one. Where it would, my brain just goes certain places, and then I'm realizing I'm not present in the moment or not paying attention to. In school, it was the lesson, or here it is, the interview or the work that I'm doing. Another one that I do is I draw lines on the wall, where specifically there are, I guess here behind me on this screen, you can see like there are natural shapes. And so on this little curve, what I do is I look for the longest uninterrupted line from point to point, from corner to corner. And this is a frame, right? I'm trying to do it in this camera. So mirrored. So from this point to like right here, that's like the longest line that I can find. And then I just find it, and then I go, cool. And then I find it again and again and again, and I just keep checking. And I'll find myself doing that during conversations, during meetings, during classes, while watching TV sometimes. And it's like I'm just affirming this line instead of whatever else I'm supposed to be doing. And that obviously can be a very, now I'm doing that, and whatever I was supposed to be doing or learning or participating in or giving my attention is not getting it. And that it's disruptive in so much as that I'm no longer present in my life.
Yeah, OCD definitely doesn't have your best interest at heart, even though it tells you it does.
Yep.
And I always commend people who have OCD and struggle through it and get to that other side and learn that, okay, there's a line, and now back to what I'm doing, versus let's spend the next hours on that line and try to see what we could do with it, right? I mean, I wish I knew how to help people stop a thought or an image or an urge. That is still beyond where we're at in science. What we can do is help people learn that they can handle it.
Right.
And that's the biggest key for everything. So I want to go back first and get back to that. But when you say to your mom after the movie, I think I have that, and you start going to providers, it's got to be rough, right? A young kid who recognizes this, but is potentially meeting with people who don't really understand OCD, haven't really been educated at OCD or the best practice treatments for OCD. How do you start to educate yourself, recognize what it is, and really move yourself toward what you need to be better if you're not really getting that help from the professionals that you're finding yourself with?
Yeah, it was a multi-year process. The first doctor I went to, I remember I like filled out a paperwork. It was like a long questionnaire of rating things on a scale of either 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, and I passed. I got an A on the OCD papers. They said yes, you're in. And so I guess lucky me, I had already gone to therapy for years and years throughout my adolescence. First, when I was clinically depressed as a child. Again, a few years later, I was in a nearly fatal car accident. And so that I think, just knowing my history, we said, let's go back to therapy. Let's unpackage this while it's fresh, which I'm glad I did as well, to really process what was a pretty severe trauma. So this was now a pattern of, I'm going to therapy every 2-3 years. I'm back, baby. This is normal. But yeah, we did. I went to psychiatrists mostly because I was trying to get medicated. I'd say a unfortunate trend in my life, this is true of my OCD, it's true of my ankylosing spondylitis, is that I don't want to do the work. I want to find the magic pill that makes it all go away. And it's taken me about 35 years to realize that is not how it works. There ain't no magic pill. You got to put in the work. And that's not to say medication can be extremely helpful on that journey. Sure. I will tell you that, to use my physical health, like if I did not take my biologic for my chronic pain, I would be suffering every single day. But it's not the full story. It's part of a tool belt, and there are many things you need to do. Medication plays a huge part in it, but so does working on behavior response. So does just getting your mental health in check. Sleep is a part of it. Understanding your stressors, understanding the patterns and your triggers. Like I tend to, if I put myself in more like creatively stimulating situations, or like, then my OCD is not there. The OCD tends to creep up in times when I'm frankly, like math class. It was the things that I didn't want to be doing. And so I had to find ways to funnel my attention to become productive, find the things I excelled at, etc. I'm going down all these avenues as opposed to answering the question that you asked. How did I navigate this? It was, I think, so I tried a lot of things that also didn't work. I did try hypnosis.
Okay.
That was crazy. I fell asleep every time. I went to a hypnotist who would basically try to like hypnotize me out of my This was like a break glass, like Hail Mary thing. Like, why not? And she would count me down. I remember I would have to imagine my hands tracing a banister of a stairwell as I walk down a grand stairwell. Ironic for someone who has stairwell-based OCD.
Say, what a horrible image for someone with a banister OCD issue. Yes, yeah,
it was terrible. So she'd be like, "You're walking down a grand banister. Your hands gently tracing the banister." And I'm like, "No, okay, no." Anyway, and then I would just fall asleep every time on the couch. So I did not get hypnotized. That was not successful. But really what it was is that I sort of just, I have an answer, and the answer is not a great answer. This is a do as I say, not as I do. I worked through a couple of my symptoms. The medication helped. I never did ERP, but I guess I did my own version of it, of trying to challenge myself on some of them. Like I always knew intellectually that if I didn't close a drawer, or if I didn't, balance myself, that the world would keep on spinning. And then there were other things that I did, other stimming that I did. My toes are always tapping. I play with my nails. I play with my tongue inside my mouth. Like, there's all these things that I do that were not as disruptive. And so as my symptoms started to replace each other, I really hyper-focused on the ones that I guess the world could see, or the ones that prevented me from doing certain things. And I sort of cultivated my own little garden of the least disruptive obsessive compulsions I could. And then I said, okay, I can manage these. These ones are okay. You guys can hang around. And then when I got to college, I got pretty frustrated with my psychiatrist, and I stopped taking medication for a couple years, almost just as a fuck you to the world. I really don't know what I was thinking there. And I found that the ones that I had sort of stuck around and no new ones came. And I guess that's the answer of how I did it, sloppily.
And obviously, I commend you for, not knowing like the scientific aspect of things, but really applying a lot of these principles to yourself. That's great, because those are the things we really teach each other. And I think what you described is what a lot of people have probably done, is they've turned a lot of things potentially inward and are still stuck doing a lot of stuff that maybe others don't know. And that's why, we'll always, and I will always recommend, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to a therapist who specializes in these things, just so that even those things could go away, be it exposure and response prevention therapy, or if you're doing even tick-like behaviors, right? Moving your tongue in a certain way or toes at certain times, that there's habit reversal training. So there's really great treatments out there. And that's what, the message we're always doing here on the podcast is talking about that. And, there's so many ways to get there. So I really commend the work that you did for yourself to be able to do that. Well,
thanks. It's ironic because I talked about how much support I had as a kid. Like, my mother was so unbelievably responsive to this, got me in therapy at a super young age. And I still went about this alone for so long. Frankly, to this day, I started shutting myself out from my therapist and psychiatrist because I didn't like him, so I didn't want to be there. And it never occurred to me that you could change, that you could go to someone else.
That is an option, yes.
It's totally an option. And so I navigated this pretty okay. I think I'm still navigating it pretty okay. There was such an easier path available to me. I mean, a resource like you guys didn't exist when I was growing up, but it exists now. And so frankly, if anyone's listening to this, unless they're just like Zach superfan and you're following me wherever I go, which, hey, shout out, thanks for being here. My guess is that you're here because you have some interest in OCD, maybe because you or a loved one have OCD. You're already ahead of the game. Like, you're ahead of where I was. I have continued to just let myself deal with this on my own. And I like, there are some things that there's like a tick that I do that I honestly only just told my wife about this past year. Because I was like, this is mine. No one can know about this. And I was hiding it even from the person I love the most, which is unnecessary and wrong. And I think actually because I was like, well, if I tell her, then she's going to take it away from me. I turned into Gollum. I was like, this is my precious ring, and if they know, then they're going to take it, and this is mine. So it's like my journey is far from done. I very much still I've got lots of my symptoms and compulsions, and I think I've just gotten better at hiding it. The double-edged sword there, the risk is that the better you are at hiding it, in a way you become better at hiding it from yourself. And I think I've actually, for the past couple of years, if I'm being fully honest, I think I've neglected my OCD treatment.
Yeah, that's powerful. And we know that every compulsion that we do feeds OCD and potentially makes it stronger. So there's always the hard part about it, right? Or where OCD even says, here's the person I love the most, but I'm still going to hide something from her, right? Because OCD is more important than even that, because that's what OCD will always try to say. It wants to be your number one. Sure, you're married, but hey, I'm a little more important than she is, just so you know, right?
It was crazy. We were driving, and she goes, "What are you doing with your?" I don't want to tell you. I'm hiding it. This is my part of the monster. I'm not Doc. You don't get to know. The audience doesn't get to know. And I go, and I lied. I made something up, and then we kept driving, and then I was like, "That was wrong. That was a lie." And she it wasn't even. She was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, it just. The idea that was an OCD symptom or a compulsion it took like a second to even register what I was talking about. But you're totally right. I had I guess have in my brain this feeling that like of all the relationships I have, well, there's the strongest bond I have. I'm just going to keep calling it that I'm Gollum. It's between me and the ring. Yeah. That's super interesting and well put.
Yeah, it's a relentless ass, OCD is, I think, because it just demands and demands and demands, and it doubts absolutely everything and questions it all. And the intentions of everyone are always bad. No one with OCD's ever come to see me and said, "Hey, Doc, I'm really afraid everybody loves me and thinks I'm great." We treated nobody for that.
Oh man, that would be good.
It's always the worst case scenario stuff, right? And
yeah, I also think it's like, I was thinking back to the person that said, "Oh, I wish I had a little OCD," or "I'm OCD about this." There's a few of the very common symptoms that we see. It's the washing the hands, it's checking the locks. I don't have either of those, and so I feel like it's important and helpful to hear about the different manifestations. It's why I talk about mine, because like to me they're like unique and weird and kooky. But I'm sure I'm not alone in them. And then hearing things from you where you like there are things that I didn't even realize could be labeled as obsessive compulsions. And that's also helpful to really like then fully understand yourself and what that monster is.
Yeah, I kind of have this time machine want right now to go back to meet young Zach and see if that was existential OCD going on when you were a kid. Because I have a feeling it really was, actually. I've got this, my spidey senses tingling.
We got to break into some Westchester office, find the little files,
exactly.
Go over the notes.
Just checking something there. Sorry. So once you're open about this, I mean, do people start to come up to you and talk to you a little bit about it now, or have they reached out at all, or how do you deal with that?
Only every now and then. I think because there's so many of the health issues I share about.
You get them all, don't you?
I get different ones from different people. And my chronic pain and ankylosing spondylitis, which is I've said it now a couple times, but it's essentially a spinal arthritic condition that's autoimmune. It's inflammatory. It's pain. That over the last 10 years really... It reached a fever pitch of intensity where that was the monster that demanded my time, demanded the treatment. And it has been the one I've talked most about. It I think touches my day to day the most. So as a result, I've ended up talking about my physical health a lot more than my mental health. That's why I'm excited to be here. I think
thank you.
I crave these opportunities to think about it more and to learn about myself, but also have that outlet to share more. But yeah, I probably get that one the most. But it's cool. Anytime I get to share about my physical health, about my mental health, it feels like I'm able to turn a negative into a positive. To if something that I've gone through or learned can help someone else on their journey, that's all I could ever hope for.
On the NOCD app, we have a community, and there's always people on there thinking how can I live the rest of my life with this? And this is why I love doing the podcast, because I meet people like you who are out there, who are out about it, who are successful, who are doing things every day in spite of OCD being there, right? No one has yet said OCD's gone away and now I'm successful because I don't have OCD. People have talked about, I have OCD and I figured out how to be successful living with OCD. And that's really the message that we want to get across to people, because, like you said earlier, we're not curing OCD at this point. We haven't figured out how to never do a compulsion, how to never have a thought or image or urge you don't like. And frankly, everybody has weird thoughts or images or urges. So that's not actually the problem. The problem is more on the reaction side. And so thank you, and we're not even done yet, but I always like to take this opportunity just to really thank you for coming here today and being open about that, because I think it's inspiring to people who are going to watch this.
I'll tell you, my life is dope as hell and I got OCD. So there you go. They are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. We might make that into a meme, actually. That's a
good shirt. I have OCD, parentheses, and my life is dope as hell.
Dope as hell. There you go.
And then smaller parentheses, not because of the OCD, but tangential to, parallel to the OCD. They're both two tracks.
And then what will it say in the back? Because it should continue on, I think.
Yeah. And just to be clear, there are parts of my OCD that I've come to live with, other parts that I am still working on. So that does impact the dopeness of the life. However, the capacity for dope life persists.
There we go. Ask me my dope level today. Or something like that.
There you go. And then a scale of 1 to 10 where people can
1 to 10 dopeness.
Point. You kind of have to contort around your body.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then the other way, if you're you, right? Because you have to do it on both sides.
Yes. You go over here to say 1 to 10, and then you just go on the other side to check it out.
The contorting
I appreciate,
thing,
by the way, before your next question, that you are a doctor of this, but still able and willing to joke about it, because that also is important to me. It's fuck the monster, man. We can still poke fun at our compulsions. I think that's a really important part to having power over it.
It's a big piece of what I do in my speaking about OCD as well, is because I tell everyone, I really like you, but I really hate your OCD, and I am going to just kill the OCD as much as I can. I'm going to just tear it down. I'm going to, as the Irish would say, pick the Mickey right out of it, kind of thing. I am going to be relentless to your OCD. So absolutely.
What would you say to people? Because I've had points in my life where I go, well, I like this stim. It makes me feel good. I like it. And so is that the OCD tricking me? Or are there compulsions that no, if you like it, then that's okay and you're allowed to keep it? Because I think that I'm thinking about the one that sort of persisted throughout my 20s and 30s, and honestly checks in on me every now and then. And that was the one I kind of kept secret. And I go, well, I like that one. It's almost it's like soothing the way a binky is soothing. And I guess you would say, well, there gets an age where you take the binky away. But what is that threshold at which it's OCD tricking you? versus, I don't know.
Can I take it outside of OCD for 1 second?
Okay.
When I work with people with substance abuse, they also tell me that they really like their substances.
Yeah.
But they're not good for them. But they really like them, right?
Yep.
They like the feeling and everything. So I think that there's the short term and then there's the long term. And a lot of people in the short term will get some relief when they do these compulsions. And they might even get that confused into, I'm liking it. It's good for me. I enjoy it. I want to do this. But they keep coming in for treatment because there is the rationalization versus the emotional component. But the knowledge is, I know this is not good for me. But the emotion is, I'm afraid to not do this because I don't know what that unknown is not doing this anymore. And I'm so used to doing this and it's just become part of my life. Who am I without doing some of these behaviors anymore?
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. I'm also just thinking about what's so brilliant about what you guys are doing with your community and with your app is that these are people who know it and don't judge it. Right. And in my years of therapy, and especially when I was younger, like I just felt this ickiness and this shame. I felt a lot of judgment towards my compulsions of, look, they're the ones that I've shared with you today that I'm comfortable. And there's ones that like I still, as a 35-year-old man, I'm like, maybe we don't have to talk about those ones because those are, don't even worry about it. And that's not like, they're not weird. They're not crazy or abnormal, but I just feel that sense of, I guess I'm turning this into a therapy session. I hope you don't mind. It's very helpful for me.
That's right. We'll charge you for the podcast. It's okay.
Okay, good. I was going to say, I'm taking this as a free session. I'm using promo code Zach100. But yeah, it's like that is the thing that you get through people that do this for a living is they know not to judge it. And I imagine you have also ways to help get it out of people and make them feel safe.
Zach, this may not shock you with living with OCD, but I promise if you and I were at the top of a staircase right now, I would think about throwing you down the stairs. And the reason is I've treated so many people who are afraid of what if they were to do that I can't take stairs anymore without contemplating the death of everybody on a staircase that I'm on at this point in my life. So I've pretty much absorbed every single obsessive thought or image or urge of anyone I've ever treated, but I don't react to them. Right. And that's where I always talk about the problem isn't the obsession. You know, they're not comfortable for people. Obviously, I don't even necessarily like them or anything, but I don't react to them either. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that one. Okay, yeah, whatever. And then I move on. And
so you're telling me there's not ever one that you hear and go, oh, that's pretty cool.
I do internally, but I do keep the poker face outside. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years. I now offer people $1. If you tell me something I've never heard before, I'll give you $1. But
whoa.
I've heard a lot at this point in time.
Oh man, challenge accepted. Okay, so everything that I've said before, you've heard.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How about this one?
All right.
This is by the way good because I'm gonna now I'll reveal some that I So when I was a kid, we went to this friend's. I don't know actually if this is where it came from because they were years apart, and I use this memory to justify this compulsion. I'm not actually sure if they're connected. We went to my dad's childhood friend. His kid was a little older than me, and he's like, you want to see my collection in my room? And I go to his room, and he has this jar, and it's a jar of fingernail and toenail clippings, big. And I had this like shockwave moment of, oh my God, my body is growing and dying. Fingernails are like the dead skin, and like he's so young, but this is all of his life and body that has left him. And so I was really always like, I'm not good at the sensation of cutting nails. And I knew that already. Like it just icked me out. There was something with like, I don't know, I thought my finger was going to get chopped off. So I preferred to just sort of pick at my nails. And I wouldn't pick at my nails as a, like, you know, a lot of people get to the point of nubs. I was real good about it. I actually let my nails grow long because I like picking them. So I let them grow long so there's something to pick. And then I would play with them between my fingers. And, if I had something stuck in my teeth, use it as a toothpick. Even though I know it's gross, I like playing with them, whatever. And so sometimes I would pick one, but I already had one. So I had this glasses case on the side of my bed. And then I remembered that kid. And I went, oh, I can keep them too. And so then I just had this collection of nails, and I would wake up and I would check in on them and I would say, hello, my babies. And I would pick which one I want to hang out with for the day. And then every now and then, like my mom would clean my room or something and they would get dumped out and I would be devastated. There weren't enough of them that I think she realized what she was doing, right? Mm-hmm. Like she didn't see them and go, oh, gross, and throw them away. But yeah, they were my little fingernail buddies.
I've heard of similar things with hair where people, if with trichotillomania, which is hair pulling, if they can pull the hair out, it's got that little bulb on the end of it. Sometimes they'll squeeze it or they'll put it between their nails and they'll kind of smear it on the fingernail a little bit.
I do love the feeling between a nail.
Yeah. And then some people even eat the hair, and humans don't have the ability to get rid of it. So they develop what's called a trichobazar, which is a human hairball. And then you have to have a surgery to actually have it pulled out of your stomach. And some of them are the size of like softballs.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. So my dad had we called them like kissing teeth, where basically like his two front teeth started to overlap. And it's like not like significantly, but just like something where if that happens too much, then you need braces. So I was told, well, if you keep biting your nails, you're going to get the kissing teeth. So I went, okay, bet. And I started only biting with the lower half of my teeth. And instead of I used to stim putting the hangnail like in my gums on the top. Mm-hmm. And I went, okay, cool. I'll just do it on the bottom. Great. Done. No one sees the bottom. My lips covering it.
Right.
So it's you justify changes in lots of different ways.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people will make sounds and other people will hear it and they'll say, I was just clearing my throat or something like that. When
I used to do that all the time. Yeah. I used to go, just, I needed that, like the little vibration of my throat. I forgot about that. I haven't done that in years. Hopefully it doesn't come back.
Sorry, didn't mean to trigger that.
But yeah, I would do that a lot, and my sister would get furious with me. She'd be like, "Stop doing that sound. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing. Nothing." I mean, I could go all day. I could go for another hour about all that was a weird thing about. Maybe it's not weird. There were so many manifestations of my compulsions.
It's not weird. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tons of them. I mean, I like a dozen plus at a time, which I think also made it so hard to really wrap my arms around it.
Yeah. Well,
so I don't get $1?
No, you don't.
Okay.
I've heard those things before. So.
I tried.
Yeah, but good try.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for saying those too, because, a lot of people also, I think, have the idea that OCD is this one thing, but it could be a mass of things all happening at the same time as well. It doesn't have to be just focused on this one thing. So
yeah,
it just comes in so many forms, in so many ways. And, your experience of it, I think, is really eye-opening to a lot of people to hear it, because I can say it as a professional, but I think it's really different when you hear from somebody who's lived it and can really talk about, again, coming to the other side of it. So what advice would you give to people who are struggling with OCD now, having gone through what you did in your childhood, the history of treatment that you've had? What would you tell them now from the lessons you've learned in all of this?
It's what we just talked about. Do not go at it alone. You don't have to. And don't hide it. It thrives in the dark, and it's allergic to sunlight. So the more that you bring it out, the more you control it, the less it controls you. It's a lesson that I'm still learning. And there are resources to help. You can attack it in a variety of different ways, but there are obviously people like you who specialize in this, who have dedicated their lives to this. And I think that's the place I would start.
Awesome. And we would also include friends and family in there too, right? Spouses can inadvertently be pulled into doing safety behaviors for someone, and we want to educate them on it as well so that they're not also accommodating the OCD.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the same with like give it sunlight, bring it out. It's I'm I guess relearning during this conversation the extent to which OCD thrives on this personal relationship. Don't be Gollum.
Don't be Gollum. There we go. Don't be Gollum.
Don't be Gollum.
Zach, where can people find all of your stuff? Where'd they go?
We're everywhere, man. If you we've got our videos on YouTube on the Try Guys channel. We have our app secondtry.tv. Tons of exclusive shows on there that are really fun. That to me is the best stuff we're making right now. So we've got a free trial if you want to check it out. But we got podcasts, Tripod. We talk about this stuff all the time, and we talk about other we mostly just goof around. If you want to find me, there's plenty of ways to find me, trust me.
If you don't mind, I'd like to throw my hat in the ring for an audition for the Christmas Carol version that you guys want to do.
This is huge.
It sounded fascinating to me, by the way.
we do these. We've been doing these yearly live streams. We did a Romeo and Juliet live stream 2 years ago. Where we had live voting, so it was almost like people were able to mess up the show as we did it, and you could decide what are we changing about this scene. But then we tried to take it very seriously. We also had a theater troupe around us of like the greatest Shakespearean actors in Los Angeles dealing with our chaos. And it was so stupid and so fun. And the live stream that we did this past year was like good, but didn't really, because we changed the model of how we're doing it on our streaming app. It didn't drive new subscribers. We're not doing ticket sales anymore, which we might have to change. So anyway, we're doubling down on being stupid. Instead of coming up with the new model, we said, what if we do the thing none of you are asking for? What if we do a Christmas Carol live?
I love it.
That'll solve all the problems, right? And so we need enough weirdos and dummies out there to get on board with this vision and let us make one of the most unnecessary and stupidest live shows ever. But here's what I'm going to say. I think we can knock this out of the park.
Awesome. Well, to all the weirdos and the dummies watching, check out the Try Guys and all the work that Zach is doing. Zach, thank you so much for being here today. This was
pleasure. This was really fun. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I guess bill me for the time.
All right, sounds good. We'll make the dollar exchange. It'll be even. It'll
Good.
All right. And thank all of you for watching the Get to Know OCD podcast. If you're looking for help for OCD and you want to reach out to find a clinician who's trained in the diagnosis and the treatment of OCD using exposure and response prevention therapy, go to NOCD.com. That's NOCD.com. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you again. Subscribe to our NOCD YouTube channel to get more great content, and we'll have some more of these Get to Know OCD podcasts coming out soon. See you later.